Good day everyone, I'm Emile. I represent Micro Focus in South Africa. Thank you for the opportunity you've presented us today. We're going to talk about Micro Focus, the solutions it provides to the market, and then my colleague Ashley is going to go more specifically into the cybersecurity portfolio of Micro Focus. We have a rich portfolio of solutions that we present to the market, and in my perspective, one of the best kept secrets in the market. I know you're going to enjoy it, and all of the best. We're going to go into a bit of a context to Micro Focus as an organization and the rich portfolio of solutions that we provide to the market. So Micro Focus as an organization features as one of the top 10 pure software organizations globally. We therefore make about $3.3 billion of revenue. There's a vast variety of customers that do business with us, and if you look at the top 100 on the Fortune 100, 98% of those businesses transact with Micro Focus in one or other form. We have 12,000 employees and 6,500 partners. And given that I'm talking to our partners, I think it's important to take a pause on the partner equation. We as a business in South Africa deal exclusively through a partner network. We don't sell directly to the market, and as part of our partner program, we, in my belief, reward the partner network quite richly for the great work that you do on our behalf to sell our products to end users. In fact, I challenge anyone to evidence that there is an OEM that provides a better rebate program than the one that Micro Focus provides to the market. So, quite exciting for me to say that we're channel-centric and that we reward our channel partners more than richly for the great work that you do, to thank you for all the hard work that you do on our behalf. You would see on the next slide that there's quite a number of businesses in South Africa that we do deal with in the blue chip category. In fact, there are very few that we don't deal with. And in those accounts, we have quite a captive audience. We would like to expand that offering, we would like to expand the solutions that we sell to those customers, but we would also like to sell our solutions to a broader base of customers than what Micro Focus has traditionally done. So why partner with Micro Focus? So Micro Focus has a set of solutions that runs across the life cycle of management of a technology suite inside of a customer organization. We start on the one side with the accelerated application development, and then move to the simplifying of the IT transformation journey. Speaks to the whole journey of plan, build, deliver, and run. In the accelerated, we look at the quality of the solutions that's being developed by the customer, we look at how we can automate the experience, we look at the enhancing performance, and we look at how we modernize the estate in that equation. Once that is in play, we also look at then how do we manage the environment from a service management point of view, fulfillment point of view, assurance point of view, and governance point of view. All topics that are very pertinent in this country at this particular point in time. Then, more specifically in the cybersecurity space, we have offerings in application security, identity and access management, data security, and security operations. To do better work in terms of making sure that we cover the entire estate, there's tools that looks at the analytics behind that, where we look at customer analytics, cognitive search, security analytics, and operational analytics. That gives us quite a comprehensive portfolio that covers through the environment. Let me look at it in a different way, the way that Micro Focus looks at its own organizations. And you'll see the slide with the 4 buckets of enterprise DevOps, hybrid IT management, security risk and governance, and predictive analytics. Those are the 4 buckets that we sort of look at how we bundle our solutions. Because if you remember from the first slide, we have 300 solutions that we offer to the market. And it's always difficult to have a 300 solution conversation with a partner or a customer. It's in my mind simpler to look at the portfolios that we represent in the market. In the enterprise DevOps, there you'll find the solutions that some of you can remember from the old HP software days, a business that we acquired some years ago. It's the portfolio lifecycle management, the functional testing, the performance testing, the load testing, all the technologies that's used in the testing space. And we're still the market leader by quite a margin in the testing environment. In there is also the traditional microfocus solutions, the things that looks at host connectivity, COBOL development, Cobra, and all the mainframe solutions that most of the customers use to modernize their legacy estates. Second bucket being the hybrid IT management. There you'll find that we work in the data center of a customer and we find solutions and ways to automate the work in the data center. Takes out the human error and makes sure that the environment is always protected. In there is the data center automation, the operations bridge and analytics, the hybrid cloud management, where we look at how customers can migrate workloads from their traditional owned data center into hyperscalers. We have a close relationship with AWS, but also a close relationship with Azure. We also look in there in service automation, network management, data protection, all the elements that covers the data center, either at the customer site or in a hyperscaler. And then probably more pertinent to today's conversation is security, risk and governance. Security, risk and governance, you'll find that we've got probably one of the most comprehensive and richest set of solutions in the market. Looking at identity and access management, which because of Papaya and GRDB is quite an important topic in all organizations today. We have some very valuable and well-managed customers in South Africa that use our solutions in that space to protect their domains, and domain protection is highly effective. We're fortunate, and I always fear when I make this statement, have not been compromised. The moment you make that statement, it seems to attract some energy and effort from people to try and compromise, but given the confidence that we've got in the solutions, I've no doubt that we'll continue to lead the charge in that space. Security operations, where we have SIEM and SOC solutions, everything from incident and execution management to managing a well-controlled security operations center. Application security is where Fortify plays. When customers develop their own technology, we make sure that that application is robust, solid, and cannot be penetrated. Data security and content management is where we look at the data of the customer and make sure that the customer data is protected either through tokenization or encryption. When we come to archival and retrieval, we focus on what nowadays the favorite word, immutable backups. We make sure that the backup is not only done, but the backup in its state where it's housed is untouchable, and it's always integral in its construct. And most of the customers we find nowadays are focused on immutable backups. Some of our competitors use that word quite aggressively to proposition their technologies. Some of the new entrants puts a focus on that. We're proud to say that we've been in that space for a long time and we've matured our solutions in that construct. So when a customer is looking at immutable backups, I think we've got through Data Protector and the associated solutions around that, the best solution and the best price solution in the market. Endpoint protection, everyone nowadays has an endpoint protection solution, and around your security, risk and governance solution, you really have to have quite a comprehensive endpoint. We look at all devices in all environments. Doesn't matter what the device is, doesn't matter what the environment is. And our discovery tools allows you to analyze and extract the data that is required in certain instances. And then the last bucket is our predictive analytics bucket. That's where once you've got an understanding of the data, you can go into the analytics of that data, clean it, manage it, scale it, do whatever is required in terms of that data journey. And then how this picture flows together, I always like to use my personal experience, and I've used some of the Micro Focus technologies long before I even thought about the idea of joining Micro Focus. We used the enterprise DevOps technologies to take our own COBOL code, break it down into components, modernize the estate, and look at the components that weren't fit for purpose anymore. So we broke the big old monolithic code into component parts that needed to be redeveloped. We redeveloped and tested with Micro Focus technologies. We then put it into an environment where the environment was being managed through the Micro Focus technologies, and on the risk and governance side, protected using the Micro Focus technologies. So from a personal experience, I fully appreciate and understand the value of how these buckets fit together. And that as far as Micro Focus's portfolio of solutions is concerned. I hope you found the overview interesting. I'm always available for a conversation. My information is available from Access. The team has done a good job in terms of supporting our business. If you ever want to have a conversation at the next level of detail, I'm always keen to have that conversation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Emile, for that overview and going over the Micro Focus advantage. My task today will be taking you onto the next part of the presentation, which is focusing on cyber resilience. And CyberRes is a Micro Focus line of business focusing on the security aspects of our portfolio. To move on, just to give you a definition of what resilience is, it's the dynamic process encompassing positive adaptation within the context of adversity. Now, what that means in the security world today is that organizations are totally under attack and siege, and if you think about all the breaches, T-Mobile and the ransomware attacks that we're having of late, security is coming more and more predominant, and how we protect our customers, organizations, and also our staff and our employees from the risk of ransomware, etc. That's becoming more and more important. The road ahead will depend on resilience like never before. And there's many aspects we can speak about, what's happening in organizations out there. If you think about the data, the amount of data in SIM events and log events, there's a lot of augmented detect and response required. So when we say augmented, we mean having an automated process and using machine learning and business, and AI to help you with that process of identifying risks and threats and breaches, etc. The ability for organizations to have a cyber risk exposure, at any point in time, you want to have good visibility of what's happening on your organization. And that's where the assessment portion comes in, it becomes very important. At Micro Focus, and CyberRes, we believe in three things. We believe in protecting your data, your identities, and your applications. And if you think about data access, and identity governance, it's meeting, those needs that your users have the right access to the right resources at any given time. Privacy and compliance is also very important. If you think about GDPR and Papaya being launched in July in South Africa, consumers themselves actually have certain rights about how you use and how you protect the data. And these acts around protection of information is becoming very, very important. From a business alignment and security operations perspective, security operations in general used to be a very technical thing. You have an analyst going through multiple logs. However, there's a switch from a more technical aspect to making that information available to business-aligned security operations. So it makes business sense on what you're doing from an operational perspective, protecting your information. Application testing is very important, so secure development and testing. And when we think about this, it's about embedding security into your SDLC. So we speak about a shift left concept or a DevSecOps concept. That's basically doing security scanning of your applications, be it something like static code analysis, or open source code analysis, as well as dynamic code analysis. When we say dynamic, we mean actually doing penetration testing or simulated penetration testing on a web application. And all this is underpinned by zero trust. Now, zero trust is a concept, it's a framework, and it's more about making sure your users have the right access and continuous verification on devices, services, and individuals, rather than trusting them right from the start. So moving on to the portfolio, CyberRes is here to help you do a few things, based on technology and the outcomes you require. And for that, we have 5 primary portfolio products, starting from Voltage, NetIQ, Fortify, ArcSight, and Intercept, which is more of your intelligence and your user and entity behavior analytics capabilities that we bring to the table. So if we think about Voltage, and if we think about what its primary purpose is, Voltage thinks about anything from a data perspective. So if you think about discovering and classifying data, be it structured or unstructured, and providing a layer of protection via encryption on the data. So if we think about columns and rows and positional files, CSV files, you can actually encrypt the data with something that we call format preserving encryption. So if you think about traditional encryption, if you encrypt a string or a bit of data, it usually gets bloated. But with format preserving encryption, that format stays intact. So we can still use the data within our applications for analytic purposes, etc. That covers more on the structured world. If you think about the unstructured side of it and how we apply encryption there, we firstly can do discovery and classification of the data. And if we need to apply any encryption, we can do transparent file encryption with our Smart Cipher tool, which is also part of the Voltage portfolio. The next portion of that, we have the NetIQ portfolio. It is a very strong heritage portfolio, which started the identity and access management business 20 years ago with Emile. But now it's about evolving. It's taking your identity and access management to the next level. And it's about centrally managing identities. But identities themselves have evolved to more than just heartbeats. There's devices, there's things, and services as well. And it's about providing the protection and central identity management across multiple repositories, should I say. There's also about access management and governance. So it's about making sure your users have access to the right resources at any given time, and also providing certification reviews on that access periodically, or if an event happens, for example, if a user changes a department and triggering a micro certification process where a line manager will get a notification that this user has moved from one department to the next, and triggering certification based on those type of actions or events. The next portion of the portfolio is Fortify. Fortify deals with anything that's application security. So if we're thinking about static application security testing, so if you think about your programmers, they use these different IDEs, Visual Studio, etc. And from the IDEs, what Fortify provides is the ability to do static code analysis that scans source code and gives them, results and recommendations of where there is any security vulnerabilities in the code. But it's not just on the IDE side. You can actually do scans of applications. We have Fortify on Demand, which is our SaaS offering of Fortify, where you can upload your source code and we can do a source code analysis as there on that platform as well. So it's both hybrid. You have the ability to do on-prem static code analysis as well as cloud-based static code analysis. But we don't just do static code. We do dynamic code and dynamic application code testing as well. So if you think about a web application, we basically interrogate the web application with our dynamic testing tools. We find all the vulnerabilities, which could be like cross-site scripting, which could be SQL injection, and it identifies all these holes and provides a report on how to fix the holes, with recommendations and best practices based on OWASP or CVE, etc. Taking it one step further in Fortify, we also have our own security team, which will, over and above the application or the software application testing, can go and look at these codes and give you a more detailed analysis and report based on some human interaction on seeing exactly what the issue is on the applications. Then we deal security operations, where we think about ArcSight, which is a part of our portfolio, or when it comes to anything SecOps. But we're doing something called next-gen SecOps, where we integrate things like automated response and user entity behavior analytics with our security operations offering. So it's more than a SIM. It's a SIM with the capability of providing resolution. It's a SIM that provides the capability of using historical data and using entity behavior analytics data to give you a benchmark. And then from the benchmark, if you spot any deviations, you have the ability to have hot leads or understand this is out of normal behavior, this is abnormal, do something about it. And from that point, taking to the next step, it can be a manual remediation where an analyst goes and recommends certain fixes, etc. But if you want to bring that full circle, we have the ability to provide automated remediation as well via our SOAR capability, our SOAR technology. And with that, we have something called workbooks or playbooks, where based on certain scenarios, we can do certain actions. For example, if we see a user that's trying to authenticate from an unknown location, we can via SOAR go and block that user's access in the AD side, or disable the account or something like that, bringing it full circle when we have automated remediation from a security operations perspective. And finally, we have Intercept, which is our artificial intelligence and machine learning component. All our technologies is aiming to use Intercept as a underlying data platform, a data repository for our analysis or analytics purposes and intelligence purposes. And if you think about the whole portfolio, feeding data into a single machine learning repository or stream, it gives you more capability to act on the data, understand the data, because you have multiple areas of feeds. You're not just getting feeds from your SIM, but you're getting feeds from your identity and access management system. You can have your encryption system writing the logs, and you have a much more holistic picture of what's happening in your environment. And if you need to identify certain anomalies or potential breaches, you have all this information at your disposal. And you have Intercept with more than 450 algorithms doing this machine learning for you, which is 100% unsupervised machine learning, giving you results on multiple areas, from entity behavior analytics to user behavior analytics, and also spotting things like, that's really hard to spot. To give you an example, we may have a user that works 8 to 4 in an organization internally, and he could be a bad insider. He could be doing data exfiltration. But it's very hard to spot that because, it looks like normal access. A user comes into work, he logs in at the same time, but it's difficult to say that this user has actually gone and downloaded X amount of data from the file service. Now with the Intercept, it looks at things holistically. It gives you that data from an analytics perspective to spot, these are abnormal behaviors based on a user's peer access and based on the user's actions, what he's doing as well. And that basically brings it full circle from an artificial intelligence and machine learning perspective. So CyberRes is here to help you and to deliver the technical outcomes that you require. This is our portfolio end-to-end, including Voltage, NetIQ, Fortify, ArcSight, and Intercept. And we evolving the technologies, lots of new SaaS stuff coming down the way as well. So yeah, look forward to the space. Security is becoming exciting, but the risk of exposure and the risk of breaches are becoming more and more prevalent and a reality in our daily operations as well. So we deliver on our promise, high tech, so totally evolving, cool technology, leading edge, and low drama. So we're here to help our customers, help our employees, and help everybody stay safe from the cyber threats that are coming more and more to the forefront. Okay, thank you.